Hey everyone, welcome back. This is Six Path Weeb. Today's topic is Naruko of the Fifth Hat, a story that explores power, legacy, and a very different path taken by a familiar hero. We'll break down the concept, the lore behind it, and why this version stands out in the Naruto multiverse. Before we begin, a quick disclaimer. The content on this channel is for entertainment and discussion purposes only. I do not own any of the anime footage used in my videos. All rights and credits go to their respective creators and copyright holders. Alright, let's get started. A quiet hush settled over the council chamber as people began to arrive. One by one, respected shinobi entered the room, including calm and thoughtful leaders like Asuma Sarutobi and the ever-observant Kakashi Hatake. Clan representatives followed, from well-known families like the Hyuga and Akimichi to smaller but equally important clans who served the village with pride. Members of the civilian council took their seats as well, murmuring softly among themselves. Last to arrive was the Toad Sage, Jiraiya. He walked more slowly than usual and said nothing, though everyone could tell his mind was busy. Already waiting were the village elders, Homura, Koharu, and Danzo, long-time advisors who had seen many seasons of change. More than 30 people filled the room. They had gathered to make one of the most important choices the village had ever faced. When everyone was seated, Koharu stood and gently cleared her throat. "Thank you all for coming," she said. "We are here today to discuss and decide who will become the fifth Hokage." A younger civilian council member let out a thoughtful sigh. Koharu turned to him kindly. "Councillor Harada, would you like to share your thoughts?" Harada straightened in his chair. "I was wondering. Could the village be guided by a council instead? We already work together well. Why not continue that way?" Homura smiled patiently. "That's a fair question. However, the Hokage's role goes beyond discussion and planning. The Hokage must guide the shinobi, represent the village to others, and make important decisions quickly when needed. Those responsibilities are best carried by one trusted leader." Koharu nodded. "And the Hokage is also a symbol of hope. Someone the village looks up to." Harada considered this and slowly nodded. "Thank you for listening," Koharu said. "Now, let us begin nominations." A clear voice broke the quiet. "I nominate Uzumaki Naruko to be the fifth Hokage." The room froze. All eyes turned toward Danzo, who had spoken calmly and without hesitation. A wave of surprised whispers followed. One council member spoke carefully. "Naruko is still very young." Another added, "She is still learning. That's a lot of responsibility." Jiraiya folded his arms and looked straight at Danzo. "That's an unexpected choice. Care to explain?" Danzo nodded. "Naruko has shown kindness, courage, and a deep care for this village. She brings people together. She learns quickly, and she never gives up on others. Those are the qualities of a true leader." Shikaku Nara leaned forward. "But leadership takes wisdom, not just heart." "True," Danzo agreed. "And wisdom can be taught. Naruko has already shown that she grows stronger through learning and teamwork." Kakashi spoke next, his tone gentle. "Naruko has great potential, but she is still growing. With time, guidance, and patience, she could one day be ready." Jiraiya nodded. "She's bright, trusting, and full of hope. Those are strengths, but they need time to mature." Danzo accepted this with a small nod. "Then let us agree on this, Naruko is not being rushed. She is being recognized. The village should support her growth, not fear it." The room grew thoughtful rather than tense. Koharu smiled softly. "Then today, we are not choosing a title. We are choosing a future." And for the first time that evening, the mood felt lighter, filled with hope, care, and belief in what tomorrow could bring. Danzo folded his hands calmly and let out a thoughtful sigh. "It is unfortunate," he said, "that Naruko's growth has been slower than it might have been. Her teachers have wisely guided her, but there are techniques she could one day use to learn more efficiently. For example, when Naruko creates shadow clones, each one gains experience. When they return, that experience returns with them. I believe she has not yet realized this because she mostly uses them to help others quickly rather than to learn." Kakashi straightened, his tone gentle but firm. "That is true," he said, "but Naruko is still young. Her mind is growing, and too much learning at once could overwhelm her. No one her age has trained that way before without careful preparation. I wanted to protect her well-being." Jiraiya nodded in agreement. "My training with Naruko focused on steady focus and patience," he added warmly. "Things like chakra control and summoning require calm concentration. Too many clones at once could have made that harder for her." Danzo considered this carefully and then nodded. I understand your concern, he said. Still, I believe Naruko has a bright future. With guidance from her teachers, the elders, and this council, she could grow into a wonderful leader someday. Not now, but in time. A quiet murmur passed through the room. Some members exchanged thoughtful looks, wondering whether Danzo was being hopeful or overly eager. One of the civilian representatives, Harada, spoke gently but firmly. Naruko is only 13, she said. She has a big heart, but that doesn't mean she should carry such a heavy responsibility so soon. Leadership takes time. Hyuga Hyashi stood next, his voice calm but serious. We must be careful, he said. Naruko dreams of becoming Hokage because she loves this village. That love should never be used to pressure her. Danzo inclined his head respectfully. I admire her kindness, he replied. She wants to protect everyone, and that is something rare and precious. My hope is simply to help her grow, not to rush her. Nara Shikaku spoke with a small smile. My son would never want to lead, he said lightly. He prefers peaceful days and quiet thinking. And others, while talented, have goals that lead them down different paths. Naruko, however, wants to unite people. Several nodded. Kakashi then added. Wanting to be Hokage is not enough, but Naruko also listens, learns, and never gives up. That matters. Hyashi folded his arms. She still has much to learn about the world, he said. Danzo answered calmly. That is why she should be taught, not dismissed. A leader who learns with compassion can grow into someone truly special. The room grew quiet. Finally, Danzo spoke once more. There is one more reason Naruko is important to this village, her heritage. Jiraiya and Kakashi both stiffened slightly. An Akimichi council member tilted his head. Heritage? Naruko was raised without knowing her family. Danzo gave a small, knowing smile. Some truths are protected until the right moment. Jiraiya stepped forward quickly, his voice serious but caring. This is a secret meant to protect Naruko, he said. It will be shared only when she is ready, and nowhere else. The council nodded in agreement. One member, a bit confused, asked, what kind of secret could be that important? Jiraiya smiled gently. One that reminds us Naruko is not just a future leader, but a child who deserves kindness, patience, and time. And with that, the council meeting paused, not to decide Naruko's future for her, but to ensure she would one day choose it herself. A secret spoken with care. Jiraiya folded his arms and sighed, his expression serious but calm. This is a truth only a very small number of people at the very top know, he said. The elders, Danzo, and the Hokage were aware of it. Even I was never told the full story, only that it mattered deeply. Still, I'm surprised no one figured it out sooner. I thought Shikaku might have. Shikaku Nara shook his head slowly. I didn't know, he admitted. Though my son did ask me some curious questions recently, about Naruko's parents, and how traits are passed down in families. He had that thoughtful look he gets when something clicks, but then he waved it off, saying it was too troublesome to explain. Jiraiya chuckled warmly. So someone noticed after all. That's good. When you look closely, her father's appearance, her mother's spirit, it really does add up. The room grew quiet as everyone tried to follow his meaning. Then Jiraiya said it plainly. Uzumaki Naruko is the daughter of Uzumaki Kushina and Namikaze Minato. Gasps filled the chamber. Some council members exchanged uneasy glances, suddenly rethinking the way they had treated the cheerful young girl over the years. One councillor spoke up, clearly confused. That can't be right. We were told the child was lost during the Great Calamity. And surely the fourth Hokage would never choose his own child for such a heavy responsibility. Danzo answered evenly. The early reports were mistaken. The baby was taken briefly after birth, and the truth was hidden to protect her. With both parents gone, she was left alone. Revealing her heritage would have made her a target to rival villages. It was decided to keep her identity quiet. A blue-haired Jonin raised her hand politely. Why would other villages care so much? Homura, one of the elders, replied gently, because of Kushina's special abilities. Long ago, she herself was taken because others wished to claim her strength. Minato rescued her, and from that day forward, they stood together. Hyashi Hyuga nodded. I knew Kushina when we were young. She was kind and strong. Still, it's surprising to think Naruko is their child. Jiraiya smiled softly. Surprising, maybe. But true. Elsewhere in the village, Naruko sneezed suddenly and laughed, unaware of the discussion about her. The counselor from earlier tried once more. I just can't believe the fourth Hokage would burden his own daughter like that. Jiraiya's voice remained firm but calm. Naruko was never a burden. She is a child who carried a great responsibility with courage and kindness. The fact that she still loves this village says more about her heart than anything else. He paused, then asked quietly, "What did you think of Kushina?" She was loud sometimes, the counselor admitted, but good-hearted and devoted. And Uzumaki Mito? Jiraiya continued. The first Hokage's wife. A wise and respected woman. Jiraiya nodded. Both were wonderful people. Both were from the Uzumaki clan. And both carried great responsibility with grace. Naruko follows in their footsteps. The room fell silent as understanding settled in. Danzo cleared his throat. Regardless, this discussion is about the future. Jiraiya nodded. Naruko is not ready today, but one day, she could become a fine Hokage. She listens, she learns, and she cares. That matters. One council member stood. I support this. If nothing else, it is a chance to make up for how we treated her before. Another stood beside them. I agree. Gradually, more followed. The vote shifted. Among the clan heads, opinions were divided. Ino Shikacho supports Naruko, Shikaku announced after a quiet exchange with his teammates. Inuzuka Tsume crossed her arms. She has spirit. I respect that. Still, I'll vote another way. The tally was close, but Naruko's name carried strong support. As the meeting drew on, the Jonin prepared to give their voices as well, not out of fear or pressure, but out of hope. Hope for a future shaped by kindness, understanding, and growth. Kakashi gave a small, thoughtful smirk as he looked around the room. Like parent, like child, he said warmly. I trust Naruko to do the right thing, with plenty of guidance, of course. And I admit, it would be pretty amazing to say I learned from one Hokage and helped guide another. Sarutobi nodded and spoke next, his voice steady and sincere. My father always had a soft spot for that girl. He believed she would grow into someone truly special someday. I don't think he imagined it happening this soon, but life has a way of surprising us. I support Naruko. Sadly, they were still in the minority. Of the 10 Jonin present, only 2 others voted in Naruko's favor. Most of the room struggled with the idea of being guided by someone so young, even one with such a bright heart and boundless determination. The count stood at 20-15, but the decision was not final. 2 votes remained uncast, Homura and Koharu. A hush fell over the room as everyone waited, eyes shifting between the hopeful image of Naruko and the calm, confident presence of Hyashi. Koharu spoke first, folding her hands gently. From a practical standpoint, Hyashi does make sense, she admitted. But Hiruzen once told me that sometimes your instincts matter more than logic. And my instincts say that Naruko will grow into someone remarkable. I may have doubts, but I choose to believe in her. The vote shifted to 21-15. All eyes turned to Homura. This was it, the final decision. Everyone knew how close the choice was, and how rare this opportunity might be. Homura took a deep breath before speaking. I never expected this choice to rest with me, he said honestly. I assumed the outcome would be clear long before now. But as I look at our options, I realize something important. He paused, then smiled faintly. One candidate represents tradition and order. The other represents hope, growth, and the future. And while the future can be uncertain, it is also full of possibility. He straightened and spoke clearly. I choose Naruko Uzumaki. For a moment, the room was silent. Then, slowly, the weight of the decision settled in, not as fear, but as quiet optimism. A young girl with a bright smile, a kind heart, and endless determination had taken her first step toward her dream, not because she was perfect, but because others believed she could grow. And that belief made all the difference. A new dawn for the Leaf Village. A thoughtful silence settled over the council chamber, gentle yet heavy with meaning. The elders and clan leaders slowly realized what had just happened. They had chosen Uzumaki Naruko, once overlooked, often misunderstood, but endlessly hopeful, to become the next Hokage of the Hidden Leaf Village. Some were still unsure. A few had voted differently, believing another leader might be better suited. Yet most had grown past old worries and focused instead on Naruko's kindness, perseverance, and unwavering love for her home. One of the clan leaders stood up, adjusting her robes carefully. This decision feels unfinished, she said calmly. One voice has not yet been heard, the last member of the Uchiha clan. Danzo responded evenly, that clan is represented by a single child. He is only 13. The leader nodded. So is Naruko. If we trust her with leadership, then we must trust her peer with a voice. Fairness strengthens unity. A quiet murmur passed through the room. Koharu spoke next, her tone gentle but firm. I agree. The Uchiha boy is part of this village, and his opinion matters. She turned toward Kakashi. Please bring him, and Naruko as well. This concerns them both. Kakashi sighed softly, scratching the back of his head. All right. With a simple hand sign, a shadow copy appeared and hurried off. Nara Shikaku leaned back in his chair, thoughtful but faintly amused. Well then, he said, smiling slightly. Looks like we wait. Ramen and friendly rivalry. Far from the council chamber, sunshine warmed the street outside Ichiraku Ramen. Team 7 strolled along, tired but cheerful after training. Naruko's eyes sparkled as she clasped her hands. I'm starving. I think I'll order, 4 bowls. No, 6. Miso pork ramen sounds perfect. Sakura smiled weakly. I might try something simple. Do they sell anything besides ramen? Naruko blinked. Probably? I've never checked. Sasuke crossed his arms. I'll decide when I sit down. Naruko grinned at him. You're no fun. So what are you getting? Sasuke smirked. 7 bowls of miso pork. Naruko froze, then laughed. Oh yeah? Then I'll have 8. 9, Sasuke replied smoothly. Sakura sighed, already recognizing the pattern. Please don't turn lunch into a contest. Ken, Naruko said proudly. 11, Sasuke answered. Sakura covered her face, but she was smiling. A gentle promise. As they stepped inside the ramen shop, none of them knew that big changes were waiting just around the corner. But Naruko felt it in her heart, something bright was ahead. She didn't want power or praise. She just wanted to help everyone smile. And that, more than anything, made her worthy of being Hokage. Naruko's cheeks puffed out as she leaned back proudly. 12 bowls of ramen. She announced with a grin. Top that, Sasuke. Believe it. Sasuke glanced sideways, pretending not to smile. You talk big, he replied. We'll see. Just then, a calm voice appeared behind them. About that ramen, Kakashi said pleasantly, it will have to wait. All 3 jumped a little. You scared me, Naruko said, clutching her chest dramatically. I can't faint before becoming Hokage. That would ruin everything. Kakashi chuckled behind his mask. You've been requested at a grand council meeting. 3rd floor of the Hokage Tower. Immediately. Sakura blinked. A council meeting? For us? Yes, Kakashi said. You'll understand when you arrive. Naruko tilted her head. Why would they need me? Kakashi only smiled. Go on now. That was all Naruko needed to hear. She turned to Sasuke with a spark in her eyes. Bet I get there first. She spun around, and nearly ran straight into empty air. Sasuke? Hey! She called, spotting him already racing across the rooftops. That's not fair. She dashed after him, laughing as she went. Sakura watched them go, then looked back at Kakashi. Sensei. Ramen? Kakashi shrugged. Sounds good. Moments later, Sakura noticed something odd. Wait. You're a shadow clone? Kakashi nodded. The real me is already at the meeting. Sakura stared toward the tower, torn, but then smiled. Ramen it is. When Naruko finally reached the tall doors of the meeting room, she skidded to a stop, straightened her jacket, and walked in with confidence, only to trip slightly on the carpet. She caught herself quickly. I meant to do that, she said, rubbing the back of her head. Hello. The room was filled with important adults, all watching her kindly. Jiraiya gestured to a chair near the front. Naruko, please sit here. Sasuke, you may sit there. They obeyed, and the room grew quiet. Jiraiya stood. This meeting is about the future leadership of the village. Naruko's eyes lit up. Wait, are you saying? Sasuke crossed his arms. Don't jump to conclusions. Kakashi spoke gently. Naruko has been considered as a possible future Hokage. Naruko froze. Really? She whispered. The council members nodded. One elder spoke kindly. You've shown courage, kindness, and a deep love for the village. You protect others, even when it's hard. Those are important qualities. Sasuke looked confused. But she's still young. Another leader replied, age matters less than heart. Naruko swallowed. I still have a lot to learn. That's true, Jiraiya said warmly. But wanting to grow is part of leadership. Naruko took a deep breath. There's something I should say. Something important. The room listened quietly. There's a powerful spirit sealed inside me, she said softly. It's been there since I was a baby. Some people were afraid because of it. But that spirit doesn't decide who I am. She looked up, smiling bravely. I decide who I am. And I choose to care about this village. The room was silent for a moment, then filled with gentle smiles. Naruko wasn't Hokage yet. But for the first time, she truly felt like she was on the path. And that made her heart shine brighter than ever. Sasuke stood quietly, staring at the person he secretly cared about more than he would ever admit. Naruko, his loud, smiling teammate, was crying. She wasn't joking. She wasn't bragging. She was just being honest. Sasuke folded his arms and glanced at the gathered villagers and shinobi nearby. He decided they didn't deserve his thoughts right now. What mattered was the girl in front of him. His rival. His teammate. His friend. Naruko wiped her eyes and spoke softly. I have something sealed inside me. A powerful spirit. I didn't choose it. Sasuke raised an eyebrow, then gave a small, confident smirk. So what? You're still Naruko. Just with a lot of extra energy stuck inside you. It doesn't change who you are. She looked surprised. You're not mad? Why would I be? He replied. You're still the same knuckle-headed friend I know. That made Naruko laugh through her tears. She took a breath. Sometimes, when I get really emotional, like when I thought I lost you once, I felt a rush of strength. It helped me protect others. But it also scared me. Sasuke's expression softened. Being called her friend meant more than he wanted to admit. Humph. I still think I can beat you in training. She grinned. Oh yeah? I'd like to see you try. Before anything more could be said, Jiraiya cleared his throat loudly. Both kids suddenly realized how many people had heard them. Naruko blushed and looked away, while Sasuke adjusted his collar, pretending he didn't care. The crowd was unusually quiet. Naruko's honesty, and Sasuke's acceptance, had clearly touched something in them. Kakashi stepped forward calmly. If it's all right, I'd like to explain something important. He turned to his students. Naruko, Sasuke, what you carry is not new to our village. Naruko blinked. You mean? I wasn't the first? Kakashi nodded. You come from the Uzumaki clan. A family known for great strength and kindness. Naruko's eyes widened. I have a clan? Yes, Kakashi said gently. And your mother was part of it. She carried the same responsibility before you. The room grew still. Jiraiya spoke next, his voice warm. People once understood this responsibility as an act of love and protection. But fear made them forget that with you. And for that, many regret their actions. One by one, voices spoke up. Apologies, quiet, sincere, and long overdue. Even Hiashi Hyuga stepped forward. I knew your mother. She was brave, cheerful, and always spoke her mind. You remind me very much of her. Naruko smiled shyly. What did she look like? Hiashi chuckled softly. She had long red hair and kind eyes. You share her spirit. Naruko tilted her head. So, I look like my dad? Yes, Hiashi replied. And your father was someone very special. Naruko turned to Jiraiya eagerly. Who was he? Jiraiya took a deep breath. Your father was Minato Namikaze. The fourth Hokage. The room filled with quiet surprise. Naruko's heart raced, not with anger, but with emotion. Her hero. Her inspiration. Her father. But. Her voice trembled, why wasn't he there? Kakashi stepped closer. Because he chose to protect everyone, including you. He trusted that you would grow strong, kind, and brave. Naruko clenched her fists, then slowly relaxed them. Her breathing steadied. I think, she said quietly, I understand now. Sasuke looked at her and gave a small nod. You're stronger than you think. Naruko smiled, bright, hopeful, and full of determination. And for the first time, she didn't feel alone. Naruko stood in the center of the council chamber, her hands trembling, not with power, but with emotion. Her bright blue eyes shone with unshed tears as she looked at her former teachers. Sensei, she said, her voice shaking but clear, I needed someone back then. I didn't understand why I had to grow up feeling so alone. The room grew quiet. Her teachers didn't interrupt. They listened. Naruko took a deep breath and turned to her newest mentor. And you too. I know you had responsibilities. But sometimes, I just wanted someone to notice me. There was no shouting. No anger filling the room. Just honesty. Her words landed heavily. Both teachers lowered their heads, regret clear on their faces. They had reasons, yes, but they also knew they could have done better. Before the silence became too heavy, Sasuke stepped forward. Everyone noticed. Sasuke didn't rush. He walked calmly, confidently, until he stood beside Naruko. He didn't raise a fist or his voice. Instead, he spoke quietly, just loud enough for her to hear. You don't have to carry everything alone, he said. Not now. Not anymore. Naruko blinked, surprised. Then her shoulders relaxed just a little. Sasuke gave a small, familiar smirk. You've grown a lot. But don't forget, you can still lean on others. Naruko laughed softly, wiping her eyes. You always say things like that when I least expect it. The tension faded, replaced with warmth. Even the elders looked relieved. One of her mentors stepped forward. Naruko. I'm sorry. I should have been there for you. I didn't realize how much you needed guidance. Another nodded. And I should have protected your childhood better. You deserved honesty and care. Naruko listened carefully. Then she smiled. A real smile. I'm still a little hurt, she admitted, but I understand now. And I forgive you. The room seemed brighter somehow. Later, the council prepared for the final decision. An elder spoke gently. There are two candidates for the role of Hokage. Naruko Uzumaki and Hiashi Hyuga. The vote is close. Sasuke Uchiha, your choice will decide the outcome. Sasuke folded his hands, thinking carefully. He considered experience. Wisdom. Strength. Then he thought of trust. He looked up. I choose Naruko, he said. Naruko gasped softly. You? Really? Sasuke nodded. You listen. You care. And you never stop trying to grow. That's the kind of leader this village needs. The elder smiled. Then it is decided. By majority vote, Naruko Uzumaki is chosen as the next Hokage of the Hidden Leaf Village. Naruko stood frozen for a moment, then beamed. I promise, she said, her voice steady and sincere, I'll protect everyone. I'll learn, I'll listen, and I'll do my best. Because this village believed in me. Applause filled the room. Not because she was the strongest. But because she had grown into someone worthy of trust. Naruko could hardly sit still. She had done it. She was Hokage. Her heart felt like it was filled with fireworks and sunshine all at once. She wanted to jump up, laugh, and tell every single villager how happy she was. She wanted to spin around the room and shout her thanks to the sky. But she remembered the gentle advice the third Hokage once gave her, a Hokage shows joy with calm strength. So Naruko stayed seated, hands folded, shoulders trembling just a little with excitement. A wide, proud smile stretched across her face as she looked out at the council chamber. She had worked her whole life for this moment, and now it was real. Jiraiya watched her carefully, his expression warm but thoughtful. He was proud, deeply proud, but he also knew leadership came with challenges. Naruko was still learning, and some people in the room were very experienced at guiding conversations in their favor. Jiraiya wished he could stay nearby forever to help her, but his travels helped keep the village connected to the wider world. Still, as he looked at Naruko's determined posture, he felt hopeful. She had a good heart, and that mattered most. Across the room, Danzo sat quietly, observing everything with a measured smile. He respected strategy and planning, and he believed Naruko had great potential, especially as she learned carefully and thoughtfully. He was already considering how best to help her grow into the role, though his ideas often leaned toward strict structure. Sasuke sat back in his chair, arms crossed, deep in thought. Even he was surprised by his vote. Naruko had once been the loudest, most energetic student in the academy, and now she wore the Hokage's hat. As he watched her listen attentively to the council, he realized something important: she had grown. She wasn't just dreaming anymore, she was ready to lead. Hiashi, meanwhile, remained quiet and serious. He respected tradition and careful planning, and while he had hoped for a different outcome, he understood the council's decision. He resolved to support the village in his own way and to make sure Naruko received wise guidance. The room fell silent. Naruko raised her hand slightly. Is there anything else we need to talk about? Several council members blinked in surprise. They hadn't expected the new Hokage to speak up so quickly. One of them cleared his throat. What do you mean, Hokage-sama? Naruko tilted her head, curious but confident. Well, this is the council, right? You've all been helping run things while there wasn't a Hokage. Now that I'm here, I want to help too. I want to learn. The elders exchanged glances, clearly impressed. Homura nodded. Today's meeting was mainly to appoint the Hokage. There wasn't anything else planned. Oh, Naruko said, not discouraged at all. So, does that mean we can start planning together soon? Koharu smiled gently. Yes, Hokage-sama. There are many things to discuss in the days ahead. Naruko's eyes sparkled. She nodded eagerly. Great. I'm ready. Let's do our best, for everyone. And just like that, the journey of Hokage Naruko truly began, guided by hope, teamwork, kindness, and the promise of growth. A few eyebrows lifted in surprise until Danzo calmly explained himself. When Koharu-san says the council, he said, she means the Hokage's advisory council. That includes myself, Koharu-san, and Homura-san. Naruko tilted her head, looking thoughtful. But don't I get to choose my own council? She asked kindly. I don't really know you yet. Wouldn't it make sense for me to choose people I understand and trust? Danzo stiffened for just a moment, clearly startled by her confidence. Homura and Koharu, however, remained calm. That is your right, Hokage-sama, Homura said gently. We have served for many years and can offer guidance, but the choice is yours. Koharu nodded. You may also select 2 additional advisors if you wish. That way, you can learn from experienced voices while also preparing for the future. Danzo silently realized he had not expected this turn of events. Naruko was already thinking ahead. Jiraiya smiled, sensing a moment of opportunity. If I may, he said warmly, I have a suggestion that could help everyone. The room quieted. I believe Naruko should invite Tsunade of the Senju clan to join her council, Jiraiya continued. She has traveled far, learned much, and would be a wonderful guide. Some people looked surprised. Didn't you say she wouldn't return? Someone asked. I said she wouldn't return as Hokage, Jiraiya replied. Serving as an advisor is different. Danzo frowned. And you plan to leave the village for weeks searching for her? Jiraiya shook his head. Not alone. I propose that Naruko and I go together. Along the way, I can teach her more about leadership, history, and responsibility. Danzo objected, she is still young. And eager to learn, Jiraiya answered calmly. This journey would be focused on growth, not danger. Koharu considered this carefully. There is wisdom in your idea, she said. However, until Naruko is fully prepared, her role should remain private. Naruko hesitated, then nodded. Okay. I can do that. Jiraiya smiled. Good choice. Learning quietly can be powerful. Naruko thought for a moment. And I think I'd like Shikamaru to help while I'm gone. He's very smart and good at planning. He understands how I think. There were murmurs of agreement. Even those who were unsure could see Naruko's sincerity and care for the village. Then it's settled, Homura said. The elders will oversee daily matters, and reports will be shared regularly. Naruko took a deep breath, feeling the weight of her new role, but also excitement. Being Hokage wasn't easy. It meant listening, learning, and trusting others. But she was ready to try. Just then, one of the senior ninja spoke up with a gentle smile. Perhaps someone should travel with Naruko and Jiraiya. A trusted guide, just in case. Everyone turned toward Naruko. She blinked. Why is everyone looking at me like that? The room filled with soft laughter, and Naruko smiled too, knowing this was only the beginning of her journey toward becoming a wise and caring Hokage. Sasuke sighed softly and shook his head, his expression thoughtful rather than upset. Because, Hokage-sama, he said calmly, you are the leader of our village. That means you get to decide whether someone should accompany you on your journey. Naruko Uzumaki, now Hokage, blinked, then nodded. Oh. Right, she said, placing a finger under her chin in a thinking pose. She took her responsibility seriously, even if she was still getting used to it. Protecting the Hokage mattered, but so did keeping the village running smoothly. She turned toward the council members seated nearby. Does the village have anyone who could help? I know we're rebuilding, and everyone's busy. I don't want to cause trouble. Koharu and Homura exchanged gentle glances before Koharu spoke. I'm sorry, Hokage-sama. At the moment, we don't have anyone available for a long journey without affecting important village work. Naruko nodded, understanding. Then another voice spoke up, Danzo's, calm and measured. I may be able to help. I have trained guardians who assist me and my household. One of them could accompany you. Jiraiya raised an eyebrow. He knew Danzo preferred to keep his plans quiet. It's unusual, Jiraiya said carefully, to train helpers in shinobi skills without registering them with the village. Danzo folded his hands. I simply wanted to ensure safety. These guardians are well trained and responsible. Jiraiya looked toward Naruko. Would you be comfortable having one of Danzo's guardians travel with us? Naruko turned to Danzo, eyes bright with curiosity. Are they kind? And dependable? Danzo nodded. They are both. Then sure, Naruko said cheerfully. It sounds like a good way to help everyone. Jiraiya sighed, but gave a small smile. Naruko's optimism was familiar and comforting. All right. We'll leave tomorrow morning from the north gate. Naruko clapped her hands. Perfect. We can have breakfast first. With the main decisions settled, Naruko looked around the room. Well, I think that's everything. Meeting dismissed. The council members hesitated until Danzo nodded in agreement. You heard Hokage-sama. The meeting is concluded. Most people filed out, though a few remained: Jiraiya, Kakashi, Sasuke, Asuma, Shikaku, Hiashi, and the elders. Naruko tilted her head. Is there something else? Hiashi stepped forward and bowed respectfully. Hokage-sama, I request permission to inform my family that I sought your position and was surpassed. Naruko glanced at the elders. Koharu gently shook her head. It's best to wait until the official announcement. Naruko nodded. I'm sorry, Hiashi-san. Not yet. I understand, Hiashi replied, bowing again before leaving. Asuma stepped forward next. Naruko-sama, I just wanted to ask how my team will work with Shikamaru serving on the council. Naruko laughed softly and scratched her cheek. Oh. I should think about that more. I promise I'll get back to you. Shikaku then spoke. Would you like me to inform my son of these changes? Yes, please, Naruko said warmly. That would help. After Shikaku left, Sasuke crossed his arms, thoughtful. So, what about our team? You're Hokage now. Naruko's eyes lit up. Oh. Danzo-san, you mentioned trained guardians. Is there someone our age who could train with my old team? Danzo paused, then smiled faintly. Yes. I believe I have someone suitable. As long as they register properly, Jiraiya added firmly. Of course, Danzo agreed. Naruko beamed. Great. I'm excited to see everyone growing and learning together. The room felt lighter somehow, full of promise, teamwork, and new beginnings. Naruko smiled brightly. That's great. I don't think there's anything else to do today except talk with Shikamaru, right? Koharu nodded calmly. That is correct, Hokage-sama. Naruko felt her heart flutter with happiness. It was her very first day as Hokage, and everything was going well so far. Only a short time had passed, but to her, it already felt like a big accomplishment. Wonderful, Naruko said cheerfully. You're all free to go once I speak with Shikamaru. The elders exchanged surprised looks. Should we stay and help? One of them asked. Naruko shook her head gently. No, thank you. I'd like to talk with him privately. Some things are easier to explain one-on-one. Before anyone could argue, Sasuke spoke up in his usual calm way. There's no point debating. When Hokage-sama decides something, she's very determined. Naruko crossed her arms. Hey, I am not difficult. A few quiet coughs came from Kakashi and Jiraiya. Naruko gave them a playful glare. All right. Please give me a moment alone so I can get ready. The elders hesitated, especially Danzo, but they respected her request and left. Soon the room was empty except for Jiraiya, who looked at Naruko with a knowing expression. He understood she wasn't just preparing a speech, she was sorting through many new thoughts and emotions. With a soft sigh and an encouraging nod, he left her alone. Naruko paced the room, her thoughts racing. Becoming Hokage. Learning about her parents. Discovering her mother once carried the same powerful spirit she did. Knowing her father had been a hero she admired all her life. Okay, she said to herself. One thing at a time. First, Hokage. I'm Hokage, she whispered, then laughed and jumped to her feet. She danced around the room in the silliest way she could imagine, spinning, clapping, and even making a few shadow clones to cheer her on. After letting all that joy out, she finally calmed down. Next, her mother. Naruko smiled softly. She liked knowing they were alike, strong, kind, and hopeful. It made her feel less alone. Someday, she wanted to learn more about her mother's story and the gentle but powerful spirit they both protected. A knock sounded at the door. "Come in," Naruko called. Shikamaru entered slowly, followed by his father. "What a bother," Shikamaru muttered. "I was enjoying the clouds." Naruko grinned. "Careful, you're talking to your Hokage." Shikamaru raised an eyebrow. "You? Hokage? That's surprising." Shikaku laughed warmly. "Careful, son." Realization dawned on Shikamaru's face. He sat down and sighed. "Wow. I guess it's real." After Shikaku left, Shikamaru looked at Naruko thoughtfully. "So, why am I here?" Naruko's smile returned. "Because I want you to be on my Hokage council." Shikamaru blinked. "Me? You're incredibly smart," she said sincerely. "And you care about the village. I trust you." After some careful thinking, Shikamaru nodded. "All right. I'll help." Naruko beamed. Then her expression grew serious. "There are a few things you should know." She explained her connection to the powerful spirit inside her, her family's history, and her hopes for the future. Shikamaru listened quietly, respectful and calm. When she finished, he nodded. "Thank you for trusting me." Naruko took a deep breath. "There's one more thing. I want your help planning something important." "What kind of plan?" Naruko's eyes shone with determination, not anger, but resolve. "I want to work toward peace and understanding with other villages," she said. "Especially Otogakur. No fighting. No harm. Just cooperation, learning, and kindness." Shikamaru smiled faintly. "That sounds troublesome. But worthwhile." Naruko smiled back. She knew then that she wouldn't face the future alone. And that made all the difference. Naruko at the North Gate. It was 8:55 a.m. at the North Gate of the village, and one girl stood waiting beneath the clear morning sky. Naruko Uzumaki adjusted the strap of her travel pack and glanced up at the clock. She wasn't exactly shocked that she was alone. Jiraiya-sensei was famous for arriving late, especially when he became distracted by research or wandering thoughts. Still, she had hoped he would be on time today. She leaned against the small gate station where the village guards, Izumo and Kotsu, were already on duty. "So, Naruko," Kotsu said, crossing his arms, "mind telling us why you're standing here with a pack and that serious look on your face?" Naruko smiled politely. "I'm heading out on a mission with Jiraiya-sensei and another shinobi. We're supposed to meet someone important named Tsunade." Izumo's eyes widened slightly. "The legendary Tsunade? That's a big name." Kotsu tilted his head. "Is she coming back to help the village?" Naruko hesitated, remembering the explanation she had been told to give. "Yes. She has special medical knowledge that can help train more healers. The village could really use that." Both guards nodded, understanding the importance of strengthening the village through care and learning. "That's admirable," Izumo said. "How long until you leave?" Naruko shrugged. "Not sure. It's already 9, and neither Jiraiya-sensei nor the other teammate is here yet." Just then, a calm voice spoke from behind her. "I've arrived." Naruko jumped slightly and spun around. Standing there was a gray-haired shinobi, a bit taller than her, wearing a neat uniform and carrying himself with quiet confidence. "My name is Shin," he said respectfully. "I was assigned to assist on this mission." Izumo blinked. "You're quiet. Didn't even hear you arrive." Shin gave a small, polite smile. "I try not to be disruptive." Naruko studied him for a moment, then nodded. "Nice to meet you. I'm Naruko." "I know," Shin replied. "I've been told good things about you." Kotsu raised an eyebrow. "That's so?" Shin nodded. "You're known for your determination and heart." Naruko felt her cheeks warm. Thanks." She sighed and glanced down the road again. Still no sign of Jiraiya-sensei, though. "I'll go look for him," Shin said calmly. "He's likely nearby." With that, he vanished in a swift movement that left Naruko blinking. Izumo chuckled. "Efficient." Naruko laughed softly, then looked back at the gate. As she waited, her thoughts drifted to a conversation she'd had the night before. The night before. A conflict with another village? Shikamaru had asked, clearly surprised. Naruko nodded slowly. I just don't want anyone getting hurt again. If we can prevent trouble before it starts, shouldn't we try? Shikamaru rested his chin in his hand. Planning ahead is smart. But rushing into decisions without understanding everyone involved can cause more problems. Naruko looked down. I know. I don't want to lose anyone else. Shikamaru's expression softened. That's why you'll be a good leader someday. You care. Just remember, protecting people also means choosing patience and wisdom. Naruko smiled faintly. I'm still learning. Aren't we all? Shikamaru replied. Back at the gate, Naruko straightened her posture as footsteps approached. Whatever this journey would bring, she was ready to grow, not just stronger, but wiser too. And this time, she wouldn't walk the path alone. I asked Jiraiya-sensei why Orochimaru got banished from Konoha. He said Orochimaru used to do experiments on people that were really strange and unfair. Jiraiya-sensei said he was probably doing even more unusual stuff in Ado. Shikamaru nodded thoughtfully. I heard about that too, from my dad. And all the shinobi in Ado. They all follow him. They let him do those experiments. Like those people who tried to trick Sasuke. It's just wrong, Naruko said, frowning. Shikamaru leaned back into his thinker's pose. It's not just about getting back at the old man. We have to save the land of sound from all that trouble. Naruko nodded firmly. Yeah. To save them. Then, softly, almost to herself, she added, but I won't complain if we stop Orochimaru too. Shikamaru simply nodded. After that, Naruko gave Shikamaru access to all the information he would need to plan a careful mission. She chatted a little with her counselors and Jiraiya-sensei about small things, ordered some Ichiraku ramen to go, and finally settled into her house to relax and pack. She wanted to keep her future Hokage plans a secret, so she skipped the big celebration she had always imagined. Still, she remembered how the old man always complained that she never took breaks. Naruko decided to enjoy this rare quiet moment. Suddenly, she heard a soft, hesitant voice. Hi, Naruko-kun. She turned to see Hinata, cheeks bright red. Hey, Hinata. What's up? Naruko asked warmly. Hinata fiddled with her jacket, trying to steady herself. My father is upset since the new Hokage was chosen, and I didn't want to train with him while he's mad. Naruko nodded in understanding. Sparring with someone who was upset wasn't fun. I get it. Hopefully he won't stay mad for long. So, what are you planning to do today? Hinata's face stayed pink as she mumbled, train. If you want, Naruko-kun, you can train with me. Naruko smiled. I would love to, but I have a mission today. Shin is picking up Jiraiya-sensei, and then we leave. Just then, Shin appeared out of nowhere, making Hinata jump slightly. He was carrying Jiraiya-sensei, who grumbled but didn't complain too loudly. Naruko raised an eyebrow. Shin? What are you doing here? Making sure you don't step in anything gross, Shin said seriously, pointing at a small pile of dog mess on the path. Naruko laughed as she stepped around it. Thanks, Shin. That was close. Shin nodded. Just doing my job. And Naruko. Remember, it's Naruko, not Hokage-sama. Naruko chuckled. Alright, Naruko it is. Let's go. As they walked toward the next village, Naruko's excitement bubbled. Hey, Jiraiya-sensei, you said you'd teach me something new. Can we start now? I want to get stronger to protect everyone. Jiraiya-sensei smiled. Patience, Naruko. We'll start training a little later. I want to make sure you learn the right things. But when we do start, you'll learn a few jutsus. And one very special move your father invented. Naruko's eyes widened. A jutsu my father invented? Really? Yes. The Rasengan, Jiraiya-sensei said, forming a glowing, spinning blue sphere in his hand. Naruko gasped in awe. Wow. That's amazing. Jiraiya-sensei thrust the Rasengan into a tree. The bark flew off, and a perfect round hole formed in the trunk. Naruko's eyes sparkled. That move is incredible. Pure chakra? Jiraiya-sensei nodded. Exactly. With practice, you'll be able to make it your own. It'll take patience and focus, but I know you can do it. Naruko grinned, her heart swelling with determination. I'm ready. I'm going to train harder than ever. Even Shin, who usually stayed serious, looked impressed. That's impressive. I can't wait to see Naruko master it. And with that, the three friends continued down the path, ready for adventure, training, and all the challenges that awaited them, together. Jiraiya nodded. Yes, it is. In fact, Minato-san could never manage to infuse elemental chakra into the Rasengan, which makes it an incomplete jutsu. Naruko's eyes widened. Incomplete? You mean it could be even stronger? Jiraiya smiled. Exactly. Elemental chakra can make a jutsu much more powerful than using pure chakra alone. Though, to be fair, the Rasengan by itself is already impressive. Shin glanced at Naruko nervously. He had no idea what a fully enhanced Rasengan could do, and it made him uneasy. Naruko's excitement bubbled over. She stretched out her hands, trying to summon the chakra. Bits of swirling energy began to appear before Jiraiya gently grabbed her wrist. Hold on, Naruko. You can't just attempt this jutsu yet. It takes a lot of practice. It took me 6 months to master it, and Minato-san took years. Naruko frowned. I don't have 6 months. I need to learn it now. Jiraiya shook his head slowly. Patience, Naruko. We have time. This isn't a 1-week mission. Finding her might take a month, convincing her a few days, then returning home. Maybe 2 months in total. Hopefully less. Shin raised an eyebrow. He hadn't expected the mission to take that long. Lord Danzo had said just a few weeks. He opened his mouth to argue but remembered Danzo's warning to stay quiet around Jiraiya. But if it took you 6 months, how am I supposed to do it in just 2? And all the other jutsus you promised to teach me? How can we do everything? Jiraiya chuckled. That's just the beginning. I want you to master taijutsu basics, learn a new fighting style, handle genjutsu problems, explore a little about seals, and even learn manners and political etiquette. Naruko's jaw nearly dropped. 2 months? That sounds impossible. Jiraiya nodded. Normally, yes. But Kami has been kind to us since you chose Cage Bunshine from the Forbidden Scroll. Huh? What do you mean? Naruko tilted her head, confused. Because, as amazing as Cage Bunshine are, you've only been using them half as effectively as you could. Naruko blinked. Half as effective? Jiraiya grinned. Let me show you. Summon a Cage Bunshine now. Surprised, Naruko quickly did as instructed. Jiraiya grabbed the clone's arm and led it into the woods, leaving Naruko and Shin behind. What's he talking about? I already use my Cage Bunshine really well, Naruko muttered. Shin leaned closer. Pay attention. This is important. Naruko's eyes widened as she suddenly experienced the memories of her clone. Everything it had seen and learned flowed into her mind at once. What? How did I know what my clone just thought? Naruko gasped. She realized the secret behind Cage Bunshine. Every clone she created could pass on its experiences directly to her. Jiraiya reappeared with a smile. Your brain is picking up what your clones remember. That's how Cage Bunshine were originally meant to work. You'll be able to train multiple things at once and learn faster. Naruko's face lit up. So, I can learn everything super fast with my clones? That's amazing. Jiraiya shook his head, though kindly. Not too many, though. Your brain can only handle so much at once. 10 clones is safe, maybe 15 for lighter lessons. Naruko's shoulders drooped slightly, but Shin offered encouragement. Even with 10 clones, you could gain almost 2 years of experience in just 2 months. Naruko grinned. 2 years in 2 months? That's incredible. I can't wait to start training. Without warning, she shot off down the road, full of energy, followed by a slightly exasperated Jiraiya and a curious Shin. Dash. Meanwhile, 2 hours later, after Hyuga Hinata had recovered from her faint, Kotsu and Izumo were on semi-vigilant lookout while chatting casually. So, do you think the Uzumaki kid was telling the truth about Tsunade not becoming Hokage? Kotsu asked, leaning against the gate. Izumo shrugged. Maybe. All we know for sure is what the Hyuga girl said, their clan leader lost his bid. Who else is there? Not me. Kotsu grinned. I heard another rumor in the Jounin room yesterday. Apparently, the Uchiha and the Uzumaki kid were invited to the council to pick the Hokage. They say it was to give character references for Hatake Kakashi. Izumo shook his head. Why are you always sneaking into the Jounin room? Because that's where the gossip is. That's where you find the fun stories. They laughed, unaware of 2 shadowy figures moving quietly past the unguarded gates. Kisame and Itachi entered casually, donning hats and heading toward a tea shop for a calm moment before continuing their plans. So, what do you think of Konoha? Itachi asked. Kisame sniffed the air. Peaceful, but maybe too calm. Not much chakra worthy of Seimata. Itachi nodded thoughtfully. Peace has its benefits, but also some challenges. Kisame shrugged. We'll see how this unfolds. At least it's quieter than the last village. They walked in, ready to observe, while Naruko's adventure in training and self-discovery was just beginning. The ninja who was supposed to take Naruko's spot on Team 7 while she was away on her training trip never showed up, and Sakura was fuming. She had been confused earlier when Sasuke tried to explain how Naruko was going to train with the legendary Tsunade under the guidance of her second sensei, the Sannin Jiraiya. Sakura had heard about this pervy Jiraiya from Sasuke, and now the whole plan made sense in the most absurd way. Honestly, she thought the pair kind of deserved each other. Still, that didn't stop her from being annoyed at the absent replacement teammate. Sakura stomped down the street, muttering to herself. When Sasuke asked where she was going, she burst out, "Late sensei's and lazy teammates. I'm going to tell Naruko what I think." Sasuke raised an eyebrow. "You do realize she's not here, right?" Sakura's eyes widened, and she quickly concocted a new plan. "I'll prank the prank queen instead. I'll hide all her precious ramen." Sasuke paused for a moment, then smirked. "That's actually not a bad idea. Good story for when I tell my kids someday about pranking the future Hokage." As they walked toward Naruko's apartment, they didn't notice the soft shimmer of chakra in the tree line nearby. Their new teammate had decided to watch them from a distance on his first day. Social interaction wasn't exactly his strong suit. He had mostly been around his brother Shin and had forgotten most of the proper ways to act with others. To fix that, he had been studying a book on human etiquette. One tip had stood out: give your friends nicknames to make bonds stronger. He didn't understand why he couldn't just call them Sasuke Uchiha and Sakura Haruno, but the book insisted it helped. While waiting, he idly shaded a picture he had drawn, a duck bending over to get food in a pond. It was a silly drawing, but he liked it. Then he noticed something strange: the duck's tail and shape reminded him a little of Sasuke's hairstyle. He considered calling him Duckbutt for fun, but quickly decided against it. The book had emphasized playful nicknames, and that one might be too harsh for an Uchiha. Then he thought of the sound ducks made: quack. Not quite playful enough. But then it hit him: why not make it cute? Quacky. That felt just right. Playful, but not mean. He smiled to himself. Sasuke would never suspect it, and maybe, just maybe, this could be the start of making a real friend. A new look at Team 7. Sai paused as he looked over the group walking beside him. He liked to observe people and quietly think about what made them special. Sakura Haruno walked with energetic steps, her pink hair bouncing as she spoke. She was expressive, confident, and never afraid to share her thoughts. Sai decided she reminded him of a lively bell, always ringing, always heard. He smiled faintly at the idea. A nickname should be kind, he thought, and thoughtful too. Sai then wondered what sort of nickname Sakura and the others might give him. The thought made him curious, but not worried. Being part of a team meant learning together. Up ahead, Sasuke glanced at the stairs leading to Naruko Uzumaki's apartment. He shook his head with a small laugh. Even now, Naruko preferred simple places. She liked comfort, familiarity, and saving her money for ramen nights with friends rather than fancy furniture. Sakura folded her arms. "I still can't believe Naruko is going to be Hokage someday," she said. "She left her door unlocked again, didn't she?" "She always does," Sasuke replied calmly. "Apartment 2C. Sakura nodded. "Right. She even made up that silly rhyme so we wouldn't forget." Despite herself, Sakura smiled. Naruko had always had a talent for turning ordinary things into cheerful moments. Sakura gently turned the doorknob and opened the door. "Oh," she said in surprise. Inside the apartment were two unfamiliar visitors, both dressed in long, patterned cloaks with friendly expressions. They weren't sneaking or causing trouble, just looking around politely, as if waiting. One of them waved. "Hello. We're from the village council. We're here to make sure Naruko's home is ready for her next big step." Sasuke relaxed, letting out a quiet breath. "You could have knocked." The visitor laughed apologetically. "You're right. Our mistake." Sakura looked around Naruko's apartment, simple, clean, and filled with reminders of her journey, photos with friends, old headbands, and handwritten notes taped to the wall with encouraging messages like "never give up and believe in yourself." Sai smiled softly. "This place fits her," he said. "It tells her story." And though Naruko wasn't there at that moment, it was clear to everyone that her warmth, determination, and kindness filled the room just the same. Jiraiya had grown tired of Naruko's endless requests to teach her the Rasengan, or any other flashy jutsu she had been dreaming about, and decided to start with a simpler exercise. It was a small, clever challenge, perfect for her. He plucked a bright green leaf from one of the many trees around them and handed it to Naruko. "All right, Naruko," Jiraiya said, raising an eyebrow, "we both know your chakra control isn't exactly perfect. You've learned some tricks from Kakashi-sensei and me, but it's time for some extra practice. I want you to keep this leaf stuck to your hand, no matter what you do. Even if you run around or jump in the air, that leaf should stay right there." Naruko frowned, her bright eyes narrowing. "That sounds super boring. Why not show me a cool fire jutsu or something instead?" Jiraiya gave her a patient look. "Tell me, Naruko. What is chakra made of?" Naruko blinked in surprise. "Huh? I don't know." "Come on, think," Jiraiya chuckled. "What makes up chakra?" She paused, recalling her lessons from Team 7. "Chakra is a mix of physical energy and spiritual energy inside your body," she said proudly, remembering Sakura's little explanation. "Exactly," Jiraiya nodded. "This exercise is all about building your spiritual energy. Right now, you don't have much, but that's okay. Spiritual energy takes time. To use chakra well, you need both kinds, physical and spiritual, to be balanced. And exercises like this are the fastest way to build the spiritual side." Naruko perked up at that. "So, if I do this, I'll be ready for the Rasengan?" Jiraiya grinned. "Yes. And you'll be ready to show off all your other skills too." "Finally. Why didn't you just say so before?" Naruko grabbed the leaf and carefully placed it on the back of her hand, focusing all her energy on it. Nearby, Shin whispered to Jiraiya, "Is it just me, or does she seem a bit clueless?" Jiraiya shook his head with a small laugh. "No, she's not clueless. She's just learning at her own pace." "Hey! I heard that!" Naruko called out, giggling as she kept the leaf in place. "Back to work, Leaf Master," Jiraiya teased. Shin frowned. "If she's not super sharp, then why would Lord Danzo want her to become Hokage?" Jiraiya sighed, choosing his words carefully. "Naruko has a huge reservoir of chakra, thanks to the 9-tailed fox sealed inside her. She's strong, fast, and full of stamina. Plus, she has a kind heart and will always protect the village. That kind of courage? That's rare. She might not seem ready now, but she has potential most people don't even have." Shin tilted his head. "So, she's not ready now, but she could become great?" "Yes. Exactly. She learns best through action, not just reading books. She'll grow as she experiences things. That's how geniuses like her operate." "And training with Lord Danzo wouldn't help?" Shin asked cautiously. Jiraiya shook his head. "Danzo's style tries to take emotions away, saying they cloud judgment. But Naruko's emotions are her power. They give her courage, determination, and drive. Taking them away would. Well, it wouldn't help at all." Shin nodded slowly, understanding. "Ah. So her heart is part of her strength." "Right," Jiraiya said with a smile. "Now, you just focus on that leaf. When you can do this perfectly, the sky's the limit for you." Naruko beamed, holding the leaf steady. Even if it seemed like a small task, she felt a spark of pride. With Jiraiya's guidance and her own determination, she knew she could do amazing things, one leaf at a time. "Darn it, leaf. Don't fly away on me," she muttered, giggling as a gentle breeze tried to tug it loose. And so began Naruko's next adventure, one of patience, practice, and the kind of determination that could change the world. With Sakura off fetching help, Sasuke needed a plan to stall his brother and the swordsman long enough for their arrival. He knew that out of everyone, Kakashi had the best chance of handling them. Kakashi could outsmart the swordsman of the mist, and he might be able to distract Itachi just enough for Sasuke to step in and create an opening. Sasuke didn't like needing backup, but the sooner they could resolve this, the better. Every second he lingered outside Naruko's closed door was another second for them to regroup. Thinking quickly, Sasuke reared back and used a chakra-infused kick to send the door flying off its hinges. At the same time, he tossed 2 kunai toward each opponent, aiming where he thought they were standing. Neither tactic worked, the swordsman simply stepped aside, and Itachi moved with his usual calm, sidestepping the attack. Sasuke didn't panic. He focused on the swordsman first. If he could distract him, they had a better chance to escape. Feigning a punch, he tried a roundhouse kick to nudge the sword away, but the swordsman anticipated it and blocked effortlessly. The swordsman attempted to push Sasuke back, but Sasuke spun and used his tree walking skills to land safely on the wall. Pulling out a smoke bomb, he threw it into the center of the battlefield. The smoke swirled and clouded vision, and Sasuke's shuriken rained carefully into the mist. He jumped into the smoky area, one kunai in each hand, moving gracefully to cover every possible angle. When the smoke cleared, both opponents had quietly stepped out of it. Sasuke exhaled, his eyes narrowing at his brother. "Why are you here at Naruko's house?" he asked. The swordsman chuckled. "That's none of your concern, brat." He took a closer look at Sasuke. "Wait. Itachi, how does this kid have the Sharingan? I thought your entire clan was gone." Itachi responded calmly, "I left one alive, Kisame. Meet my younger sibling, Sasuke-chan." Sasuke bristled at the nickname, but his brother continued. "And I see you've met Orochimaru." Sasuke's confusion deepened. His hand twitched toward the seal. "How? You're not the first Uchiha Orochimaru tried to mark with the cursed seal of heaven. He tried on me years ago, but I scared him off. Guess he went looking elsewhere in the clan," Itachi explained. Sasuke clenched his fists, frustration bubbling. "I won't be a target to him." Kisame snickered. "Hey, brat, you stopping Itachi? That's about as likely as me becoming Kazekage." Sasuke didn't answer. Instead, he moved forward, relying on his speed and agility. A rapid exchange of punches, kicks, and evasive movements followed, more a test of skill than a fight. Sasuke's strikes were clever, aimed to create openings without causing harm. Itachi and the swordsman dodged or parried, showing off their precision, but Sasuke's determination shone. He darted, twisted, and leapt with energy, trying to outmaneuver them. At one point, Sasuke aimed a carefully placed chakra-boosted jump to push Itachi off balance. Itachi stumbled backward into a table, which tipped over with a loud crash, and for a moment, the battlefield fell silent. Sasuke's face lit up with satisfaction. He had created an opening. But Itachi stood calmly, brushing off dust from his clothing. A small trickle of paint from a spilled scroll marred his robe, but he otherwise appeared fine. He straightened up and smiled faintly. "So," Itachi said calmly, "you've been practicing." Sasuke grinned. "And I'm just getting started." "Weak, brother. You are still far too unpracticed. Even when you tried, your effort lacked the strength of conviction. You need more determination, little brother. Without it, you will never reach your full potential." Sasuke clenched his fists at the words, frustration flickering across his face. He lunged forward, testing his skills, but Itachi simply sidestepped, guiding Sasuke gently back to his feet. "Your focus is scattered," Itachi said calmly. "Perhaps a different approach will help you see clearly." Just as Itachi was about to suggest a training exercise, Sasuke suddenly disappeared in a swirl of white smoke. "Ah, she's using a clone technique. This makes things interesting," Itachi murmured to Kisame, who nodded in agreement. Flashback. After Sasuke felt the energy of his curse seal activate, he whispered the familiar words, "Kage Bunshin no Jutsu." 2 clones of himself appeared instantly. Sakura's eyes widened in surprise. "Sasuke-kun. When did Naruko teach you that?" Sasuke shook his head, catching his breath. "She didn't teach me. I figured it out while practicing on my own. I can't make too many, or I get very tired, but with the seal, I can manage 2. He turned to his clones. "You, left, go get Rock Lee and ask him to help. You, right, stall for time. And you, Sakura, find any jounin nearby and tell them that my brother and a member of the Seven Swords team are at Naruko's apartment. I'll get Kakashi. Break." With a nod, the clones sprang into action, leaving Sakura with a rush of adrenaline. End flashback. The left-hand Sasuke clone darted across rooftops with remarkable speed, heading for the hospital. He knew Lee had been training hard with Guy-sensei, and that his friend's energy and skills could be key to helping Naruko. As he reached the hospital, he slid up to the front desk. The nurse blinked at the sudden arrival. "Room number for Rock Lee, please," he asked, then vanished before she could respond. Lee's room was on the 3rd floor. The clone leapt up the stairs 2 at a time and arrived just as Guy was helping Lee with his stretching exercises. "No time for chit-chat today," the clone said urgently. "My brother and a Seven Swords team member are at Naruko's apartment." Lee sat up straight, eyes wide. "Really? Then we must hurry." Guy nodded, leaping into action with his usual boundless energy. Meanwhile, Sakura raced across the village, heart pounding. She had faced danger before, but this was different. Naruko's safety was on the line. She spotted Ino and the rest of Team 10 and quickly explained the situation. "Where's Asuma-sensei?" she asked breathlessly. "Not here," Shikamaru replied. "He's probably with Team 8 at Ikikaru's." Sakura didn't hesitate. With Ino covering, she dashed off to gather the jounin who could help. At the same time, the real Sasuke was focused on reaching Kakashi. He arrived at the training memorial where Kakashi often stayed and called out, "Sensei, I need your help." Kakashi looked up, recognizing the activated seal. "Sasuke? What's going on?" "Itachi and a Seven Swords team member are at Naruko's apartment. We need to stop them before anyone gets hurt." Kakashi's eyes narrowed. "Understood. Let's move quickly." As the team rallied, a determined energy filled the air. Sasuke felt the seal's power flow through him, sharpening his focus. This wasn't about fighting, it was about teamwork, clever planning, and keeping Naruko safe. Together, they would protect her and show that courage, determination, and friendship were the strongest forces of all. Dear YouTube family, this is all for now. If you enjoyed the journey, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to support the channel. Every click helps us grow and keeps the creativity flowing. Thank you for being part of this adventure. Regards. 6 Path Weeb.